Breathe in slowly and let it out. Settle into this space. There's something important we need to talk about today. A truth that's been hidden in plain sight. You may have sensed it already. You may have even experienced it firsthand, though you tried to tell yourself otherwise. But it's time to face it. Kindness by itself is not enough to survive in this world. Pause. Let that settle in. If you think being a good person is enough to achieve success, you are living in a fantasy. And deep down, you know it. Even if you refuse to accept it, even if you've been told your whole life that being kind, being honest, being good is enough to earn you a place in this world, something inside of you already knows that's not the whole truth. How many times have you felt like people are walking all over you? How many times have you done the right thing, and instead of receiving recognition, you've been ignored, or worse, used? You've been taught that being good is enough, that honesty and nobility are rewarded. But reality is different. Pause again. Let the weight of that truth rise in you. The world doesn't reward the good. It rewards those who know how to play their cards well. And this is where Machiavelli comes in. Machiavelli understood something that most people prefer to ignore. Human nature is selfish. It's fickle. It's cruel when necessary. In The Prince, he made it clear that virtue without cunning is weakness, that goodness without strategy is a trap. And now I'm asking you, how many times have you fallen into that trap? Think about the people you admire, the ones who have achieved great things. Speak. Do you really think they got there with good intentions alone? No, they got there because they knew when to move in the shadows, because they understood that morality is not an obstacle, but a tool, knowing when to show it and when to hide it. That's the difference between being a player and being a pawn. Pause. Breathe that in. The problem isn't that you're good. The problem is that you don't know how to protect yourself. You believe that others are playing by the same rules as you, but they're not. The world is full of predators disguised as friends, opportunists who can spot the knave from miles away. And without realizing it, you've been the perfect target. This is where Machiavelli offers you an alternative. Intelligent kindness. It's not about becoming a villain. It's not about betraying your principles. It's about understanding that kindness must be accompanied by a deep awareness of reality. It's about learning to read people, to see their intentions before they act on them, to know when to trust and when to keep your guard up. Pause. Reflect on that. Machiavelli said it's better to be feared than loved. If you cannot be both, and you, what have you chosen? Surely you've chosen to be loved, to be accepted, to be seen as harmless. But tell me, what have you gained from that? Not respect, not power. What you've gained is the knowledge, painful as it is, that others know they can use you without consequence. Kindness without strength doesn't inspire admiration. It inspires pity. Pause. Let that truth cut through the noise. Don't get confused. I'm not telling you to stop being good. I'm telling you to learn how to be good without being naive. Understand this. The world doesn't reward the just. It rewards the shrewd. True virtue is not submission, it's balance. Ethics balanced with pragmatism. Machiavelli taught that image is everything. It's not just about who you are. It's about what others perceive you to be. If you give the impression of weakness, they will treat you as weak. If you project strength, they will treat you with respect. So I ask you, how many times have you allowed others to disrespect you because you feared losing their approval? How many times have you stayed silent to avoid conflict, only to realize that silence cost you more than speaking ever could? Pause. Take a slow breath. It's not about being cruel. It's about being strategic. The key is knowing when to act, when to speak, when to retreat, and when to strike. Kindness is an advantage when used correctly, but when left unchecked, it becomes your worst enemy. The mistake many good people make is believing the world values purity of heart. It doesn't. The world values power, security, the ability to make hard decisions. Kindness is only respected when it comes from a place of strength. Without power, your kindness is irrelevant. Pause again. Reflect on your own life for a moment. Machiavelli would tell you, don't be a lamb in a world of wolves. Don't let your morality become your cage. True virtue is intelligence. They speak. It's not about passively adapting. It's about shaping the environment to your favor. Think about it. How much longer will you let the world walk over you? How much longer will you stay a victim of your own innocence? I'm not asking you to stop being good. I'm asking you to start being good. In a way that serves you. Learn to move in the shadows when necessary. Know when to smile and when to show your teeth. The world isn't fair, but you can learn to play by its rules and still remain true to yourself. Pause. Let that possibility open up inside you. Machiavelli didn't write The Prince to teach you how to be evil. He wrote it to teach you how to survive. And now, you have a choice. Are you going to keep living in the illusion that kindness alone is enough? Or are you going to apply true intelligence? And here comes a concept very few understand. The perception of power. It's not enough to be strong. You have to appear strong. It's not enough to have intelligence. You have to project it. Because in this world, perception often matters more than reality. Pause. Feel the weight of that. How many times have you seen an incompetent person rise higher than a talented one? How many times have you seen a manipulator rise while a noble and hardworking person remains stuck? That's not an accident. People don't follow the good or the just. They follow the one who appears to be in control, the one who knows how to manage their image, the one who projects authority even when they don't have all the answers. And this is where many fail. They believe the truth will speak for itself. That competence will be enough. But the world doesn't reward those who are right. It rewards those who know how to sell their version of the story. Pause. Breathe that in. Machiavelli understood this perfectly. It's not just about who you are. It's about who others believe you to be. Perception is everything. An insecure leader inspires no confidence, even if they're the most capable. A worker who doesn't make themselves visible will never be promoted, even if they are the best. A person who doesn't project value will never be desired, even if they have everything to offer. That's why the key isn't just in being. It's in mastering the narrative about yourself. Learning to control your image. Creating the right impression in every situation. Pause. Reflect on the moments you've hidden your light. It's not about deception. It's about direction. Directing people's attention to what you want them to see. In every social interaction, people don't see reality as it is. They perceive it through filters of assumption, prejudice, and emotion. And the question is, are you letting those filters work against you? Or are you using them to your advantage? Pause again. Slow breath in and out. If you are good but seem weak, they will treat you as weak. If you are just but seem soft, they will trample you. If you are talented but seem unsure, you will be ignored. It's that simple. The art of perception separates those who control their destiny from those who are controlled by others. Pause. Let that truth settle in you. And here, we move into a darker but necessary area: the control of information. Have you ever wondered why the most powerful always seem to know something others don't? Why those who dominate the game always seem to have an advantage? The answer is simple: because they know when to speak and when to stay silent. Pause, breathe deeply. They speak. Naive people believe absolute honesty is a virtue, that saying everything they think and sharing everything they know is the right thing to do. But in reality, information is power. And you can't give away power without consequences. Machiavelli said a prince must know how to hide their true intentions. Not because they should lie, but because in a world where everyone is seeking advantage, the one who reveals too much becomes vulnerable. Learn to control what you share. Say only what is necessary and nothing more. Pause. Reflect on the times you spoke too much. Maintain mystery. Make people wonder what you really think. Because the moment you become predictable, the moment they can anticipate your next move, you lose your advantage. And the greatest players in history, in politics, in business, in art, understood this. Strategic silence is as powerful as speech. Pause. Take a deep breath. Think of someone you admire, someone with real influence. Are they the kind of person who says everything, who exposes themselves completely? Or are they the one who always leaves something in the shadows, who always keeps a hidden card? The problem for many is confusing transparency with weakness. They believe that if they don't reveal everything, they are being dishonest. But it's not about lying. It's about controlling the flow of information for your advantage. Pause. And this is just the beginning. Pause for a moment. Breathe in deeply and let it out slowly. Feel yourself becoming still, present, open, because where we're going next is deeper. You've already begun to understand the truth that kindness alone isn't enough. But there's more. Much more. We've already touched on the power of perception, the control of information, the need to project strength even before you feel it fully within. But now, we step into the art of silence, the mastery of unpredictability, and the power that comes from being a mystery. Pause here. Let it sink in. You see, the one who speaks the least, who explains the least, commands the most respect. Why? Because silence creates uncertainty, and uncertainty creates curiosity, and curiosity gives you power. When people don't know what you're thinking, they pay closer attention. They lean in. They try to figure you out. And the moment they're focused on you, you've gained their attention, their energy. But if you always speak your mind, if you reveal your plans before they've taken form, people lose interest. They assume they understand you. And once they do, they no longer respect you. They no longer fear losing your presence. And eventually, they no longer value you. Pause. Let that realization settle. When you choose to speak only when necessary, when you measure your words, when you leave space for interpretation, you make people pay attention. Carefully, thoughtfully, because they know your silence speaks as loudly as your words. And here we arrive at another fundamental concept: unpredictability. Pause again. Breathe deeply. Predictable people are easy to control, easy to manipulate. If you always react the same way, if you're always emotionally predictable, if your actions are always obvious, others will learn to anticipate you. They'll know your next move before you make it. They'll use that knowledge to control you, to limit you, to weaken you. But when you are unpredictable, when no one can be sure how you'll respond, you become dangerous. And when you're dangerous, they respect you. Pause. Sit with that. Machiavelli understood this better than anyone. A leader who can be read like an open book is a weak leader. but a leader who maintains mystery, who changes when necessary, who cannot be pinned down. That is a leader who stays in power, who controls their own destiny. And now, the question for you: are you going to keep being an open book? Easy to read, easy to anticipate, easy to manipulate? Or are you ready to become a strategist, someone who controls their image, their information, their unpredictability? Because kindness without strategy is an invitation to be devoured. Pause. Let that truth settle into your bones. The world doesn't change its rules for you. You either learn to play by the rules that exist, or you get left behind. And you do this well if you apply what really works. For the first time, you'll stop being a victim of the system. You'll start being someone who dominates it. Now, here comes something that most overlook, something subtle, something powerful: the art of strategic distance. Pause. Breathe deeply. Many people believe the key to power is to always be present, to always be visible, to always be available. But the reality is different. The one who is too available loses their value. Scarcity creates desire. Absence creates impact. Pause again. Feel the truth in that. Think about it. Why do some people command respect by merely entering a room, while others, no matter how hard they try, seem invisible? The difference is perception. Machiavelli wrote that a prince should avoid becoming too accessible, not because he should disdain his people, but because excessive familiarity destroys respect. When you're always there, when you're always giving, when you're always available, people stop seeing your presence as valuable. They start taking your effort, your kindness, your generosity for granted. And this isn't just about politics or leadership. It applies to relationships, friendships, work, life itself. Pause. Breathe again. Slowly, when you give too much, you become disposable. When you're always available, you become a resource, not a person of value. How many times have you given everything for someone, only to find they no longer appreciate it? How many times have you been there for everyone, only to find no one is there for you? It's not an accident. It's human nature. What is abundant is despised. What is scarce is valued. Pause. Let it sink in. That's why you must learn to regulate your presence, to dose your attention, to manage the perception of your availability. Don't always respond immediately. Don't always be within reach. Make your absence noticed. Make your presence felt. Pause. Reflect on that. Most people fear disappearing. They believe if they step back, they'll be forgotten. Speak. But here's the truth. If the only way you can be remembered is by always being present, you were never truly valuable in the first place. Those who truly have impact, aren't everywhere. They don't fight every battle. They don't wear themselves out trying to be everything to everyone. They show up when it matters, and when they do, everyone pays attention. Pause. Breathe. Feel that power. And this leads us to emotional control, the tool of true power. Most people think control means strength, aggressiveness, forcing your way through. But true mastery, true power, lies in emotional control. The person who loses control, who reacts impulsively, who's carried away by anger or fear, becomes predictable, manipulable, weak. Pause. Breathe in. Hold it. Breathe out slowly. Think about the last time someone made you angry, the moment you lost your cool. Who had the power in that moment? You or them? The one who provokes you, controls you. The one who controls your emotions, controls your actions. But the one who cannot be provoked, the one who maintains their center, no matter what's happening around them, that's the one who has power. Real power. Pause. Sit with that. It doesn't matter if it's in a conversation, an argument, a negotiation, or a relationship, the one who remains calm while everyone else loses their head wins every time. Machiavelli made this clear. A prudent man must act with coldness and calculation. It's not about not feeling. It's about not being ruled by what you feel. Pause. Let that truth move through you. If you apply this, you become impenetrable. Others may try to provoke you. They may try to throw you off balance. But if they can't move your center, they lose their control over you. Those who dominate the game aren't always the strongest. They are the ones who stay calm while everyone else panics. Pause again. Feel your body relax, your breath slow, and know we arrive at the power of strategic patience. Most people want success now, respect now, power now. They rush, they act impulsively, they demand results. But Machiavelli knew, and those who truly control the game understand power belongs to those who know how to wait. Pause. Breathe. The world is full of people who rush in without thinking, who act without strategy, who chase every opportunity without understanding the consequences. But those who hold power, they wait, they watch, they listen. They measure, and when the time is right, they act. Like a hunter watching their prey, they don't move at the first sign. They wait until the moment is perfect. Then they strike, and it's over. Pause. Reflect on that. It's not always the one who moves first who wins. It's the one who moves at the right moment. Machiavelli said, "Fortune favors those who know how to adapt." It's not about moving fast. It's about moving smart. Mediocre people act on impulse. The powerful act with patience. They wait for their moment. And when they act, no one can stop them. Pause again. Breathe deeply. And now, I ask you, are you one of those who rush in without thinking? Or are you one who waits, watches, and strikes with precision? Because in this world, power doesn't belong to the fastest. It belongs to the smartest. The one who controls perception, controls information, controls their presence, their emotions, and their patience. Pause. Let that realization settle into you. And if you apply all of this, you will stop being a victim of the game. You will start being a true player. The world may stay ruthless, but now you'll know how to play by its rules. And that makes all the difference. Pause here. Breathe. But this isn't where the journey ends. There's still more. Pause for a moment. Breathe deeply in through your nosy and slowly out through your mouth. Settle into this space, because what comes next is perhaps the most important truth of all. A truth that separates those who merely survive from those who take control of their destiny. By now, you've understood that kindness alone won't carry you. That perception matters more than reality. That the one who controls information, emotion, and timing controls the game. But here's the secret that makes all the difference. The ability to become an anomaly in the system. A person who doesn't follow the script they've been given, but writes their own. Pause. Let that settle. The problem with most people is not their lack of intelligence or lack of kindness. It's that they stay confined inside the mental cage that's been built around them since birth. They follow the same patterns, react the way they've been conditioned to react, move within the limits they've been told are safe. But those who rise are those who reshape their destiny, are the ones who stop living by the rules they've been handed. They start creating their own. Pause again. Breathe slowly. This doesn't mean breaking rules without reason. It doesn't mean rebellion for rebellion's sake. It means understanding that the world, as it's been presented to you, is just one version, one interpretation. And that, if you want different results, You can't think like everyone else. You can't act like everyone else. You have to become something unexpected, something unpredictable, someone who isn't controlled by the system because they've learned to control themselves. Pause. Reflect. The world is designed to devour those who conform. If you do the same things as everyone else, you will get the same results. And those results are mediocrity. Being forgotten, being a footnote in someone else's story. But if you want to change the game, you have to be willing to rewrite the script. Pause. Breathe. This is where most people stop. They like the idea of being different, of rising above. But when the moment comes to act, they hesitate. They shrink back into what's comfortable, into what's safe. But safety isn't where power lives. Safety is where dreams go to die. Peek. Pause again. Sit with that. If you want to be someone who shapes their own destiny, you have to accept discomfort. You have to be willing to do what others won't. To stand in your own space even when it's uncomfortable. To hold silence when everyone else is shouting. To walk away when everyone else is desperate for approval. To take action when everyone else is paralyzed by fear. Pause. Breathe deeply. The only way to win is to stop being like everyone else. Stop reacting the way they expect you to. Stop explaining yourself the way they want you to. Creating mystery. Start creating value through your absence, through your unpredictability, through your emotional mastery. Pause. Feel that shift. And here's the part no one tells you. You were never weak. You were never small. You were simply playing by rules that were never meant to serve you. People haven't ignored you because you aren't valuable. They've ignored you because you never knew how to project your value. But now you know. Pause. Breathe. They speak. And knowing that changes everything. Because once you see it, once you understand the game, there's no going back. Once you learn to control your presency, your image, your narrative, your information, your emotions, you change how the world responds to you. Pause again. Let that power rise in you. The people who used to ignore you will begin to pay attention. The ones who underestimated you will start to question what changed. The ones who thought they could control you will hesitate, because you will no longer be the same. You'll be someone who understands the board and who knows how to play. Pause. Breathe. And now comes the decision. Are you going to take this knowledge and act on it? Or are you going to go back to the way things were? That's the real question. Because what separates those who thrive from those who stay stuck is not knowledge. It's action. You can keep this information in your mind as a thought, as an interesting idea, or you can start applying it, even in small ways, small movements, small trials, testing the waters, and in time you'll see how even the smallest shifts can change how people see you, how they treat you, how the world responds to you. Pause. Reflect. It starts with silence, with holding back just a little more than you normally would, with resisting the urge to over-explain, to justify yourself, to prove your worth. It continues with controlling your reactions, with holding your ground when someone tries to provoke you, with maintaining your center when others are losing theirs. And it deepens with strategic distance, with knowing when to step back and let people feel your absence, to create value by not always being available. Pause. Breathe deeply. These are small actions, but they build, and in time they transform you into someone who can no longer be ignored, someone who no longer plays the game by someone else's rules. And this is the moment you stop being just another player. You become the one who writes the rules. Pause. Let that settle. The world remembers those who shaped it, not those who conform to it. The world remembers those who created new rules, new systems, new ways of being, and you have that power. It's already inside you. Pause. Breathe. But power is nothing if you don't use it. So now the choice is yours. Will you remain in the shadows, waiting for the world to give you permission to shine? Or will you step forward and take your place? Pause again. Feel the silence. No one is coming to give you permission. No one is coming to hand you power. Power isn't given, it's taken through action, through discipline, through strategy. Pause. Breathe. And if you choose this path, if you choose to act, you will never be the same. You will walk differently, speak differently, move differently. And people, they'll feel it. They won't be able to explain it, but they'll know something changed. Pause. Breathe, because now you control your narrative. You control your presence, your distance, your energy, your emotions. And no one can take that from you. Pause again. So take a breath. Stand tall. This is your moment. Step into it and never look back. Pause. The power is in the silence.